Today is Sunday, February 4th, and we've just gotten through a very rough January freeze, and I'm going to go through and record the damage of what has happened here. Now, in early January, we had our first serious cold front in a long time, and the bad night, we had 2 nights that froze, but the second night wasn't that bad. The first night, the freeze began around midnight here at our property, and it lasted until 8 a.m., so 8 hours long, and 4 hours of it approximately was at 28 degrees. So things were quite cold. We had a heavy frost that morning. Then the very next night, things weren't nearly as bad as forecasted, and it just was under freezing for a couple hours, and it dipped down to 30 for the low, but nothing significant happened that night. And a couple weeks after that freeze, we got hit with another freeze that lasted 6.5 hours on our property with a low of, I recorded 25.3 over here at the Lakeland Airport, which is not even a mile away from me. The record says 24 degrees, or 24.8 precisely, but so it got pretty cold in this area on January 18th. So we're gonna show you what had happened to some of our trees, because we do have some damage. Some things are bad, even dead. Some things are going to be perfectly fine. As you can see over here, low quads, those are fine. Obviously they're not going to get harmed. The 2 mango seedlings over there, they're my new orange trees because they're dead. The jackfruit, you can see here, I had it protected, so the jackfruit is fine. I wrapped them in the 6mm poly, put a 250 watt heat lamp in there with an insulated lid on this, and it kept it about 15. I had about a gain of 15 degrees inside that chamber is what my temperature gauges showed. The star fruit, you can see, is not looking too happy. The star fruit in the first freeze down to 28 degrees and heavy frost wasn't touched at all. It did perfectly fine, didn't have any issues. The second one, it got clobbered at the 25 degree mark. It was not happy. Now you can see this clunk of green right here basically on this, and that's because I had there's the green. I had a heat lamp. I didn't wrap this because of the size of the tree, but I had a heat lamp set on it just because I had one last one, and I set it on there, and it was pointed up in this particular area. So that's why this is still green right here, where the rest of the tree has lost its leaves, completely defoliated, but the trunk test is still showing quite green. Whoops. So I'm pretty sure this tree's going to bounce back. The Barbados cherry, half of it is kind of toasty. Most of that was from the first freeze. I kind of protected it more with some covers and in a small heated blanket. So some of it's kind of beat up, and some of it's going to be perfectly fine. The green sapote is doing fine. As a matter of fact, it's having a flush of growth right now on it. You can see it was covered, protected. The Alano sapodilla is perfectly fine. I covered it with a heating blanket and a tarp stuff. You got a few leaves that were from having a growth flush that have gotten singed, but for the most part the tree is perfectly fine. Over here, the macadamia nut, it's perfectly fine. It even had a pretty good flush going on and it's doing well. Some of the leaves are a little bit burnt back here, down there, but it seems to be fine. Likewise with the Maycock sapodilla, other than a few leaves that were probably touching the poly. This tree is perfectly fine. I might have this zoomed in a little bit too much. Peach trees are getting ready to bud out and flower. Some of them are flowering. Orange tree is fine. I've pruned it, some bad stuff off from it, but it's starting to sprout and grow right now. I thought the orange trees were, you can see this orange tree over here is fine too. I thought they were in trouble. It's interesting, in the morning of the freeze, you look at the leaves and they look like they're in trouble because they're like kind of darkish colored, but once it warms up, they just turn normal and the tree's perfectly fine and starting to grow again. The Meyer lemon, a little bit of issues with some of the leaves, but again, the Meyer lemon is perfectly fine at 25 degrees. We've got a sprout trying to come out at the bottom. But it's alive. Now as you can see here, the guava tree is not too happy. It had some green leaves still left on it after the 28-degree night, but the 25-degree night completely toasted this thing. Now, when I scratched that main trunk, it's showing some life in it, so as a matter of fact, I think I've seen a few buds way down here starting to Sorry, I dropped my camera. A bee was on my hand. So I'm gonna get backed out of here because that bee is not very happy with me right now. I'm gonna probably get stung because that bee is still right here. I'm backing up because of this bee. The orange tree. Now you can see these chunks of dragon fruit cactus. They got quite beat up. I don't know. We might be able to save the main stem. I don't know. Obviously, bananas get beat up. Quite toasty, but they're coming back. You can see some green. And surprisingly, over here, I don't know if this fruit is going to make it or not. I mean, some of it actually looks pretty decent. I mean, the tree stalk doesn't have any leaves on it, but the fruit might actually ripen. I don't know. We're gonna find out. For this clump of fruit, you can see this is probably pretty bad here. This is pretty rough shape. This stuff's not gonna make it. Just been working out here this morning on the garden beds, getting them ready for spring planting. Dwarf Namwa bananas coming back out. Another one that's coming back out. These little guys are coming back out. Alright, I'm gonna hurry up and get down here to the other end. This other dwarf Namwa putting a leaf out, so it's alive. Pups coming up. I haven't put away my freeze protection stuff yet because who knows if we're going to get hit again. Although the forecast looks pretty good for the next couple weeks. The Sweetheart lychee. This has gotten beat up a little bit. We had it infected and it's not gonna make it. Now the Mauritius lychee, you can see that it's pretty much fine. It's got some burnt leaves on it here and there, and that was new growth that had not had a chance to harden off, so it got hit. You can see in the background the pineapples don't look so happy, but the lychee did fine, and I protected that with a burn barrel. You can see some of the remnants from the burn barrel there. Papaya is fine. I took a trash can, that black one, put it over it with a 5-gallon bucket of hot water and set it in there underneath the can, and that just radiated the heat out of it all night and kept the papaya perfectly fine. That's why I plant the papayas in the fall, because they're small enough to protect in the winter easily, and you can still get fruit in that first year. When they get too big, I won't be able to protect them. Now, here's the other star fruit. Interesting, this one still has all the leaves attached to it. I've heard that if the leaves fall off, that's a good sign. If the leaves stay attached, it's a bad sign. So this particular star fruit still has all the leaves attached to it, and it looks in much worse shape. I don't know what we got down here. Let's check. Here's still, whoops. There's still some green here a few weeks out. So we'll see if it starts sprouting out and comes back. Mango seedling, I checked that one. That's toast. That is done. We're going to replace that. Not with a mango, but with I'm going to replace anything I replace. I'm not putting stuff in that's going to, like mangoes that are just going to freeze. Another papaya, easily protected. What I did on these smaller ones is I just put a 5-gallon bucket over it and then covered that bucket with mulch. And then when it got warm enough during the daylight, I just removed the mulch, removed the bucket, and with them covered in mulch, they did perfectly fine. The coconut cream mango, you can see it looks good. It even has had a winter flush on it, and it stayed nice and protected in here. Pineapples again, not doing good. Longin, it's got some beat up leaves and stuff on it, and it had some earlier growth that got kind of hit, and I'm sure there's all these top growth got hit. You can see it there. Some of it's lost some leaves here and there, but I'm sure the longin is going to be perfectly fine. The Glen mango, protected it with the burn barrel, as you can see here. It's loaded up because we were supposed to get a freeze the second night on this last one when we got down to 25 degrees, but the second night we did not get below freezing, so I didn't end up having to use it. I was loaded and ready to go, but it didn't happen. Some of this right here is from the burn barrel, actually, the heat from that. And there are just some leaves singed here and there on this tree, but for the most part I think it's going to be perfectly fine. It seems to be. I think, I'm sure it's starting to probably bud out. Yeah, it's starting to put some buds out right now on it. Definitely got some branches like this that seem to be quite toast here on the far side. Oh, actually, here's some new growth coming out right here. And the Kent mango has some brown on the outside. You see some new growth popping out back here, here. Here's some new growth. Buds are swelling everywhere. on this, so that looks like that's going to be fine. The far side branch looks a lot worse. Quite brown over here. But I'm sure even I can see some, you can see some buds swelling over here. The Kiat mango, this one got hit a little bit worse than the rest of them because I did not actually have a burn barrel on it the first night. I had one in between this and the Kent, and it got a little bit of help on this side of the tree where it's still green, but the far side of the tree really got hit on that first frost. Most of this damage here is from the first freeze. The second freeze, it was fine because I had this burn barrel here running. You see the flowers on the Mexicola avocado. It was flowering during the freezes. I mean, some of the flowers got burnt and some of the leaves did a little bit too. A lot of this brown on these leaves is from like a mite or something like that. It's an insect that really does quite a bit of damage on these avocado leaves that I've got to deal with. But this thing's flowering quite profusely. And the bacon avocado, it's alive and well, but it definitely had some of its leaves hit pretty good, particularly from the first freeze when the heavy frost seemed to do a fair bit of damage to it. I'm not sure how much the 25-degree temperature did. It doesn't seem like they did much more. You can see there's some leaves coming out, new growth there. So that's fine. Now here's the real shocker. The Papaya sapodilla. As you can see, in this tree, I've always had some yellowing on this tree. It hasn't done as good as the other two sapodillas. However, I did not protect this during the 25-degree night. It was completely exposed in that freeze, and it's perfectly fine. It's not dead. So that's quite a shocker to me because it's not a very big tree. You can see how skinny that is, but it's alive. Over here, the Dream Adamoya, you can see it's coming back with some buds. It had defoliated before winter even hit. But, well, I took some mulch and just kind of buried it in the mulch on the very cold nights, and it seemed to have helped. Now here's the passion fruit vine. It's still got some green leaves on it, but it's probably lost at least 75%, especially up there in the high parts. Some of this stuff where it was real thick is still green. But that was all 1 year's growth right there, and we'll see how that does and recovers. The white sapote, I didn't protect it in the first frost, and it got a little bit of damage on the leaves. The second one, I covered it. You can see the stakes around it. I covered it, but I did not put any heat in this. All the other trees that I covered, I put heat in, and you can see it is currently sprouting buds all over the place. Lots of growth coming out on this thing. Everywhere. So it looks like the white sapote's gonna do pretty good. And for a skinny tree, it handled the cold temperatures pretty good. Another papaya, that's fine. Again, I just put a 5-gallon bucket, 5-gallon bucket on it and covered it with mulch. Mango seedling, another one of my orange trees. This thing, I believe, is toast. I checked the bark down there, and it's not really showing any signs of life on this thing. So I'm going to replace this. This is going to get taken out. I believe I'm going to get a second different variety of white sapote. That's what I'm going to get. Obviously the loquats are fine. Peach tree is fine, is blooming. right now, the blooms. The Indian jujube, the Thai giant that I thought was quite cold hardy, I thought these were. But this thing is completely defoliated. It looks toast, but I checked. Yeah, you can see they're still green in there, so we'll see if it comes back. Finish this up real quick. I don't have a tree right there yet. I'm probably gonna put another avocado, late season avocado in. Figs, dormancy. Actually, it looks like one is starting to break bud. This peach tree is starting to grow again. I don't see any flowers yet. I'm sure there's gonna be some on it. All of the mulberries are budding out right now. All three of them. Another papaya, again, just a 5-gallon bucket, cover it with mulch. The moringas got toasted, but I've already checked. They're coming back from the real low at the base, from the ground basically, so those will be fine, those will come back. Grapefruit looks really, really bad, but it's because most of this was new growth on it and it hadn't had a time to hard off, so it got beat up quite bad. I'm sure I'll prune that off here shortly and get it going back on its way. The jaboticabas, the red and the purple, here's the red. Leaves are beat up a bit here and there. It's had some chlorosis issues from the get-go. Haven't quite gotten this tree going real good yet, but it's alive and well, it didn't get defoliated or anything. I covered it with a 32-gallon black trash can and tarp and blanket and stuff. Didn't put any heat in it, but it survived the freezes. Same thing with the black or purple jaboticaba. Just put that over it and tarp, blanket, no heat, and it did fine. So there's where we're at. That's the extent of the damage. Most stuff looks like it's probably going to come back. I've got about 4 or 5 trees I got to get. I don't know exactly what I'm going to get to replace some of the stuff, and we'll see in another month a little bit better idea, so long as we don't get hit with any more freezes, what some of the stuff like that star fruit and some of these things are going to do. But that'll be it, and I'll be back with another update sometime probably in March when things start growing again. All right, God bless.